As a player and a DM, I've always felt that dragons were kind of boring. Strong start to a Dragon Week video, I know. But the idea of same dragon, different dungeon is a little lackluster. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. This isn't a Reese's peanut butter cup situation, guys. But the thing is, it's not really the dragon's fault. There are so many different kinds out there. For me, the problem stems from the fact that a lot of TTRPGs kind of tend to stick to the same tropes. Gold hoards, variations on fire breath, village raising, maybe a cryptic prophecy if you're lucky. And sure, those can be thematically useful dragons, especially if you're aiming for a certain high fantasy style of gameplay. But personally, I'd love more adventure hooks that lean into a very different type of vibe. Like, what if dragons were just the earliest versions of magical girls? So let's make some hooks of our own. Last year, a bunch of creators got together to make videos for Kraken Week. I have a link to last year's video below. Sorry guys, no dragon costume this year. Tragic, I know. The theme Ginny D and Pointy Hat chose this year is dragons. And I know a ton of different creators are making absolutely amazing videos. There's a new playlist dropping every day this week, so make sure to check all of them out. But today, I'm gonna be covering 3 adventure hooks that you can bring to your table, inspired by the fact that dragons are just magical girls with bat wings. I'm not wrong. Okay, so like I said, traditional evil dragon type scenarios, not my cup of tea. I've never really cared that much about treasure hoards, and I definitely don't understand my players' obsessions with dragonborn and kobolds, but I did realize that there have historically been some dragon stories that I do in fact love, and so I set out to kind of find the common thread between them. When I was a kid, I devoured the Dragon Riders of Pern series. Falcor, obviously the cutest to have ever done it, and fun fact, I literally cannot watch How to Train Your Dragon without crying. In fact, I can't listen to the soundtrack without crying. It's very funny and very embarrassing. So clearly I love benevolent dragons. And D&D absolutely has them. I think all metallic dragons are technically good aligned, if I'm not mistaken. But despite that, I feel like I rarely see them come up in the table at play. Unless you're running Rise of Tiamat or Waterdeep Dragon Heist, they feel absent. And that's a bummer. We can do better. And by better, I very specifically mean weirder. While working on this video, I realized that the dragon stories that I tend to gravitate towards are ones where dragons transform into humans. You see this a lot in Eastern dragon mythology, where dragons take on human form to help, guide, or protect, and honestly, I think it's super cute. It kind of makes me imagine what life would be like if we as humans could transform to hang out with our dogs or something. I love wholesome friendship moments, like the story of the Naga and Buddha, where the Naga comes across Buddha meditating and transforms back into a dragon to protect him from the storm. Like, you can bet your ass I'd do the same for this idiot princess any day of the week. I'm not being mean, my dog is actually very dumb, but also perfect. So today we're going to be doing our little part to fix this gaping dragon-shaped hole in my heart, because friendly dragons, they're just a different flavor of magical girls. Okay, so if you didn't grow up watching Sailor Moon or Cardcaptor Sakura or Little Witch Academia with your nieces, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what defines a magical girl and how any of this relates to D&D. Magical girls are a combination of seemingly ordinary girl plus extraordinary powers. This is why dragons that shapeshift into humans immediately give me magical girl energy. They're powerful, majestic, ancient creatures cosplaying as regular old humans. Usually a magical girl starts off normal until she experiences an awakening of power, and like dragons, magical girls are often tied to one specific element or theme. It might be fire, water, love, justice, you name it. Then comes the transformation. Just like Sailor Moon, dragons don't simply use magic, they transform. And along that brings these themes of transformation, identity, duality, all of which are perfect for TTRPGs, especially if you're trying to build a dragon NPC that isn't meant to be a boss battle just waiting to happen, but a whole character. Magical girls also have lives full of conflict. Whether it's due to villains or to personal issues, internal struggles, conflict is everywhere for these poor babies. And a lot of this has to do with, one, being young, but also because with this power comes a lot of responsibility. It can feel crushing. And if you're a dragon who loves humans, that second part hits deep. So let's talk about some not so basic bitch dragon plot hooks that you can use to zhuzh up your game. Let's break out of our shells a little bit. Get it? It's an egg joke. But let's build some weird and wonderful dragon plot hooks rooted in transformation and secret identities and fiery, fiery danger. Okay, so I really love dragons with weird hoards. We could go with humans. Pointy Hat actually did a really good video a while back on this specific thing, but I wanted to cover it more with a fae-oriented twist. So for our first magical girl dragon-inspired adventure hook, we're working with a dragon who's hoarding something far more powerful than gold: mortal emotions. There are a few different ways to present this to your party depending on your group's vibe. Maybe the party stumbles into town and realizes that a lot of the people have a strange brand of amnesia. People joke about being forgetful, but the more your players talk to the NPCs, the weirder it gets. They say really strange things like, "I remember getting married, I just can't remember to who?" Or, "Don't mind me, I just lose hours sometimes. Probably nothing." Right, this is just ADHD. But it's because the dragon, disguised as a human, visits town late at night, frequenting taverns and cozy little corners, listening for tales of heartbreak, regret, joy, or longing. They don't steal objects, they steal emotions. And these stories and memories, that's what the dragon is extracting them from. And this might be weird enough for your party to explore on its own merits alone. If your group is very chatty with NPCs, or is very mystery encoded like my Feywild group was, they'll probably be all about it from the start. But other ways to make this relevant to your party include maybe having the party meet someone out in the wider world that can't remember some key information that they definitely should know. So they send the party to investigate in their hometown. Or maybe an NPC vital to the main quest lives here, but they can't remember what they were supposed to deliver or say. Like, do they know about a specific magic item, a specific piece of information that's supposed to help the party, that sort of thing. I even think it would be really fun to have one of the members of the party to get emotion napped, where if they share a story with a stranger in this tavern, something heartfelt and meaningful, maybe the next day, it's gone. Another way to broadcast this to them would be to have them run into an NPC that they had some sort of emotionally charged adventure with before, who now has no idea who they are. Or even better, a PC's backstory character lives here. But if they mention them to the wrong person, they risk losing the memory of them entirely. So why is this a problem for the party? What will get them to investigate? Maybe the missing person knows the location of a powerful magic item, but can't recall it. Or maybe an NPC was supposed to deliver something to the party, but never showed. That NPC's crush asked them to do this favor, and so when they went lamenting to the stranger in the tavern, their memory went, bye! Even better, have this happen in a town that the party's been to before, especially one that they might have saved. They can go back expecting a warm welcome and instantly find that literally no one remembers them. It's like negging your adventurers. You can also have something like this affect the PCs more directly. Let's say the PCs end up talking to this dragon masquerading as a human. Maybe they showed up to this town because they were following a lead for a long-lost sibling, but now they can't remember any details about them. Even better if it's a player that's talking about their missing sibling constantly. They've been very, very worried. Having them forget their sibling would probably be very alarming to the rest of the party. And it could be really fun trying to have them fill in these gaps that'll show how much they've been listening to the story. You can also really play with mechanics related to emotions, albeit temporarily, like maybe just one session. But maybe this dragon's lair effect makes this an emotional dead zone for magic. So spells like calm emotions, fear, charm, or any motivation-related spells no longer work or work like they should. Maybe they go haywire. So A barbarian who ends up opening up about their source of rage might feel it flicker out or surge out of control. I really imagine this is similar to a wild magic surge, so you can really play with something fun. But hopefully by now you have enough ideas that'll get your party weirded out enough to want to get to the bottom of this. So why is this magical girl-coated dragon collecting emotions? Here's a few fun options that have more of that fae-focused kind of flavor to them. One possibility could be that this is some sort of Lindworm-esque curse. The dragon may have once been mortal or even fae, and now they can't feel emotions on their own. Maybe long exposure to the Feywild worked them. But whatever the reason, they hoard emotions in a desperate attempt to remember what it was like to love or mourn or hope. It's their dragon-sized version of nostalgia. Another reason this dragon might be doing this is because emotions are like Fey currency. This is something that I've absolutely used in my Feywild games before. They can power magic, they can seal contracts, they can buy items in goblin markets. So maybe the dragon is trading bottled memories for favors, or crafting potions of their own from essences of heartbreak. The setup is also great foreshadowing if you want your party to find their own bottled memories being sold at some sort of shady Fey bazaar later on. This dragon might also be an artiste or a curator. They see emotions as art. They've been collecting joy from first loves, sorrow from funerals, rage from battlefield losses, all of it to compose the most powerful symphony or mural or tapestry, each piece of it being a moment of pure feeling. To them, this isn't cruelty, it's beauty. And if you want to get real weird with it, maybe they're using these emotions to build their own Feywild pocket dimension. It's abstract, surreal, and could lead to a cool little planar detour for your adventures if you wanted it to. Okay, so how might the party resolve this? Especially if they don't want to kill the dragon, which they shouldn't. It's cool. One potential way to deal with this is maybe needing them to catch the dragon in its human form. Maybe when they're in their human guise, this dragon is more vulnerable emotionally and magically. Maybe they're terrified of being outed, and it can be much easier to force them to negotiate this way. It's like playing werewolf, but in D&D. But if they're exposed publicly, it can ruin the hoard that they've built. A little whisper to another patron in the tavern, "Wait, that's the bard who always asks people about their regrets," might set off alarm bells for them. Because this dragon isn't evil, they're just extra. And I love the idea of them wanting particular emotions. So they're just out there planting seeds of love triangles, rivalries, forbidden romances, and then harvesting the fruits of that tension. They definitely wouldn't want your party to mess this up for them. Maybe the party needs to get their true name. Classic Fae move. If the party learns the dragon's true name, they gain leverage. But the cost to learn it might be steep. This could be a great opportunity to work with a warlock's patron, especially if they're an archfey, or maybe another existing fae that's already in your campaign. But once spoken with intent, the name might cause the dragon pain if they continue to try hoarding, or it might be used to force them to bargain. The party can also consider trading a memory for a memory, because maybe they don't care about the town as a whole, but they are interested in restoring the memories of a particular NPC. Well, this dragon's hoard might be full of common emotions, normal mortal ones, joy, heartbreak, anger. But the party might be able to offer an emotion that feels rare or powerful to this dragon. A PC's raw grief for a fallen comrade. The ecstasy and joy of a bard's greatest performance. The first feeling of hope from someone who was formerly a villain. The catch? Obviously that the PC would lose this memory and feeling forever. If you want more ideas for creating deals like this though, make sure to check out the video in the link below. I just outlined this process a lot more a couple weeks ago in a lot more detail. Again, though this dragon isn't evil, this is still their hoard. They're not going to want to return these memories to the world. And you can play with tons of different ideas like Fey riddles, maybe a special puzzle trap, something that opens a door to this trove of memories and they have to do it without the dragon noticing or something. Maybe they could forge an agreement and take her to somewhere where she can collect these emotions and memories without harming the the people that the players care about. Suck it, Woodgrove! But this is such a flexible setup, and the tone can shift from melancholy to surreal to Feywild fun, all depending on how your players engage with it. And with that, our next magical girl-inspired dragon adventure is... So one of my favorite plot arcs in magical girl-themed media is when the character's magic goes absolutely haywire. Like, as they grow and get stronger, there's always a story arc where someone just loses control. And I think it'd be super fun to include this vibe with like a young dragon. So for this particular adventure, we're gonna focus on like the snake aspect of dragons. And this dragon is gonna be undergoing a magical molt. Think of it as an emotional magical shedding where they literally outgrow their old form, body, magic, and all. In my head, this dragon is basically Ariel from The Little Mermaid from The Little Mermaid. They're obsessed with mortals and collect mortal artifacts. And I love the idea that this is all just junk, like children's drawings and crafts, single socks, popped buttons, you know, all the good stuff. So she's a young dragon, she's still really figuring out what her hoard really means, but she's just absolutely like enchanted with humanity. We're cuties, guys. But the catch? She knows that dragons make people feel nervous. Something, town raising, fire death type of reputation. So she lives in disguise, secretly blending in amongst them. And she's like a massive help to the town, patching roofs, delivering herbs, slapping local monsters around. She even has one or two mortal friends that help keep her secret and help her navigate mortal life. Magical girls always need an adorable support squad. I don't make the rules. And so for this particular adventure hook, I imagine one of those hide the big obvious monster type of trope deals, and I'd run it in a way that's similar to a heist. Something where the party helps keep the town from discovering what's casually molting in their backyard. But what does this mortal meeb dragon have to do with your party? So here are some ways your party might realize that something bizarre is afoot. Maybe this young dragon cosplaying as a mortal was supposed to give your party a tour of the castle or town or market or something like that. But just after it starts, one of her friends abruptly whisks her away while the other one shows up last second as all, hi, I'll be your guide now. Suspicious. And just before she vanishes, the party sees something, like a hiccup of flame, or a brief glimpse of a tail flickering into reality. Or maybe they get like a sudden whiff of sulfur and eggs. This party might just ignore it until her friend accidentally lets something slip. Or maybe they can use a zone of truth spell that forces her to say more than she really meant to. But another way you can introduce this scenario to your players would be to have her mortal disguise based off of someone that the PCs already know. Maybe it's one of their long-lost siblings, maybe it's a childhood friend, maybe it's an NPC from a very faraway town that they liked, but it's obvious that it is not this person, right? So now the party knows it's an illusion and they're wondering, how does she know them? What happened to them? What's all this about? And maybe she does have key information about them, or it could lead to a huge reveal or emotional connection between them. Maybe she's been watching over them, hoarding their old art. There's options here. But a third way to get them involved would be to have the dragon molt that she's shedding, and potentially leaving trails of all over town, do something weird and crazy and even dangerous to the town. Something that only adventurers can deal with. But as the molt begins, weird stuff starts happening. Dreams become real, objects animate, strong emotions spike into magical effects. You can even twist this a little bit, like maybe there's a magical rift nearby feeding into this molt, or maybe it's caused by it. But if left unchecked, maybe what's happening with this dragon could accidentally blow up half the village, or tear open a portal to the Feywild, or leave the town stuck in some sort of weird magical storm. And I think this one would be particularly fun if someone in your party is a dragon-obsessed specialist. So maybe only they would know about or understand this particular bit of lore, and might be the only ones that really understand what's at stake with what's happening in this town. Once the party's tangled up in all of the chaos, there are a few directions you can take this in. Maybe her friends have been trying to handle this alone and are exhausted and have no idea what to do about any of this. They've been keeping her secret, trying to clean up all of these molting side effects, and running interference with a suspicious dragon slaying faction that is now sniffing around town. One of them hasn't slept in days. Maybe that's why she slipped up and said too much. But they might ask the party directly for help keeping her secret. And if the party succeeds, maybe they can offer to introduce them to somebody important at court. The reason I like this one is it's kind of a callback to the fact that a lot of dragon myths with these human transformations were really stories about testing the protagonist's morals. So this is just a silly magical girl themed version of that. So if your party can help keep her identity hidden, they will have absolutely earned a prize. There's really so many things that you can do with this. Maybe a junk-like item in her hoard is actually a very impressive magic item. Maybe a PC's childhood drawing turns out to be a map or a prophecy. They just didn't realize it because they were kids. She could even have been a PC's imaginary friend once upon a time. You know, they thought she was imaginary. But they kept every drawing and letter that they ever offered her. Something that feels like D&D's version of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which is now something I really want to run as a campaign. But you can play with some one-off spells the party might get access to, where dragon molt is a very important ingredient. Maybe the dragon could also reward players with a once-in-a-campaign magical favor, or NPC backup down the road, that sort of thing. No matter which way you slice it though, this dragon's friends are absolutely gonna need the PC's help while this dragon is helpless. I think it'd be cute to have to get them to like smuggle her to her dragon hideout in the mountains while all of these molting effects are going on. And last but not least, our final story hook. Okay, so maybe you do want your players to fight a dragon, just not the dragon, not the sweet little healer who's been handing out cures like candy. Good news! We can absolutely do that! Okay, so this hook leans into one of my favorite dragon tropes. The dragon who chooses to live among humans as a human. So in this case, we've got a healer who lives in town with her mortal partner and her kids, just trying to live a normal life. Her family knows her secret, but what they don't know is that by choosing to live like this, she's broken ancient draconic law. And now, enforcers are coming. There are other dragons or dragon-aligned creatures who believe she has to return to her proper place. And if she won't go willingly, they plan on dragging her back. Your party's job? Help this dragon stay in the home she chose, and maybe punch some scaly bad guys along the way. If your PCs are extra heroic, simply witnessing someone fucking up a stall in the market late at night might be enough to really get them going. If they got healed by her earlier in the day, they'll probably be more than willing to jump in and chase them off. And the dragon PC can come out of her home after hearing all of this commotion and mention that a group of people have been trying to run her out of town, and the PCs can do some digging and prodding and go from there. Simple, easy. But what if you want to stretch this into a multi-session arc? Have one of her children or her partner go missing. She begs the party for help, but tells them not to get the local authorities involved. It's too risky. The enforcers are watching, or maybe they're even part of the guard now. Now the party's caught in a rescue mission that just might reveal everything that this NPC has worked so hard to obscure. Another idea I really like for this one is having the enforcers unleash some sort of monster, like some sort of corrupted elemental or rogue wyvern, to create a crisis that she can't fix without revealing herself. So your party needs to fight the monster instead. Then a few days later, a mysterious new hero shows up. They're solving problems, sort of. They're also bragging a lot and causing weirdly specific disasters. They always show up just in time to solve. Spoiler alert, it's probably an enforcer in disguise trying to frame her or out her. This works especially well if your players really hate phony, spotlight-stealing NPCs. Lean into that energy. The last way you might be able to potentially hook your characters in is to have them get healed by her, preferably for free or like super cheap. Have her just be this huge fucking sweetheart, and then go ahead and frame her for something horrible but subtle. Something like poisoning someone's potion or spreading a magical disease. The enforcers are trying to manipulate things to make it look like she's dangerous. And maybe while the party is by her stall, she mentions that some of her healing spells have been failing unexpectedly. Her salves no longer really work. Her stall's herbs go rotten overnight. Enchanted ointments spark weirdly. And maybe one of the PCs will be able to see a minor draconic curse or glamour being applied behind her back by one of these enforcers. Or maybe they'll catch a glance of a mysterious sigil right under her stall, or feel some sort of magical interference while they're trying to get healed. But if the enforcers take her away right in front of a party that she just healed, and you throw in a stall neighbor saying something like, "That poor thing, she wouldn't hurt anyone," like, I don't know how many parties wouldn't be tempted to do something about it. The beauty of this setup is that it can build to a big-ass dragon fight, but not against the healer. You can have a full-grown adult enforcer dragon, half-dragon agents, wormling or drake backup, or even dragonkin who wield unique powers. I can guarantee that other Dragon Week creators will have something very, very cool that you can use. But this is your chance to do big, epic dragon combat, but in a way that flips that traditional slay the dragon trope on its head. Maybe even the healer herself gets to join in at the end, revealing her true form to protect her town, her family, and the people she loves. So what happens if the party helps her? Again, there are a ton of different things that you can offer them. Maybe she has rare herbal blends, or alchemical goods that other healers can't craft. Or she can teach one of the PCs a secret healing technique that they can't find anywhere else. Maybe she can give them some sort of draconic blessing, and if her cover's blown, she might need to relocate. And she just might ask the party if they know about a town that might need some protection. Do one of your players have a village that they really care about? A home they left behind while adventuring? She could settle there and become a guardian NPC for that place. And of course, this is an adult dragon. She can obviously fly. I really love floating island in the sky stories, so this is a great chance for the party to go visit one. So even if you've never been into magical girl stories, I hope this video has sparked some new ideas for the kinds of different dragon stories that you can bring to your tables. There's only so many times you can run the whole fire, breath, and hoard of gold angle before it starts to get stale. So don't be afraid to shake things up, to get a little weird, and let your dragons be dramatic and emotional, and maybe even a little bit sparkly. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, and go check out all the other cool creators that are participating in Dragon Week. Seriously, everyone always has such great ideas. And when you're ready for even more table inspiration, check out these videos for more fun ideas to bring to your table next.